In a world absolutely saturated with noise, constant opinions, endless debates, everyone shouting to be heard, isn't there a certain allure to the idea of quiet power? The ability to understand, to influence, perhaps even to subtly steer situations, not through loud arguments or clever rhetoric, but through something deeper, something conveyed without saying a word. We often associate influence with persuasion, with winning arguments. But what if the most profound form of outsmarting isn't about verbal sparring at all? What if it's about cultivating a presence, an insight, a way of being that commands respect and understanding on a much more fundamental level? This brings us, perhaps surprisingly, to Friedrich Nietzsche. Not typically the guy you think of for tips on social navigation, right? He's more associated with challenging pronouncements, philosophical depth charges, and critiques of morality. Yet hidden within his complex thought is a powerful exploration of human psychology, power dynamics, and the immense influence wielded by those who achieve profound self-mastery and insight. Today we're exploring Nietzsche's path, not as a manual for manipulation, let's be clear, but as a blueprint for developing a kind of silent power, a power rooted in deep self-awareness, keen observation, and an understanding of the currents flowing beneath the surface of everyday interactions. This is about becoming perceptive, centered, and influential in ways that transcend mere words. Intrigued? Let's dive in. Setting the stage, Nietzsche, the psychologist of masks. First, a quick refresher on our guide. Friedrich Nietzsche, the 19th century German thinker, wasn't just a philosopher in the abstract sense. He was a profound, often ruthless psychologist. He lived and wrote during a time of immense cultural and intellectual ferment, witnessing the decline of traditional religious authority, God is dead, and diagnosing the rise of what he saw as nihilism and herd mentality. His key ideas, the will to power, the Übermensch, eternal recurrence, the critique of master-slave morality, were all tools for dissecting the human condition, understanding our motivations, and challenging us to overcome our limitations. He was fascinated by why people believe what they believe, why they act the way they do, and the often hidden drives beneath their stated intentions. Crucially for our topic today, Nietzsche was acutely aware of the masks people wear. He understood that much of social interaction is a performance, that individuals often hide their true motivations, perhaps even from themselves, behind veils of convention, morality, or politeness. He urged his readers to look behind these masks, to develop the psychological acuity to see the underlying currents of power, fear, resentment, and striving. His writing style reflects this depth. It's often aphoristic, challenging, demanding interpretation. He doesn't offer simple formulas. But for those willing to engage, he provides powerful lenses for understanding the subtle, often nonverbal dynamics of human interaction. He equips us not to manipulate, but to see more clearly. And clear sight, as we'll discover, is a potent source of silent power. The pillars of silent influence, a Nietzschean framework. How can we translate Nietzsche's challenging philosophy into this realm of non-verbal influence and insight? It's about cultivating specific inner qualities and perspectives that naturally radiate outwards. 1. Mastering the self before mastering the room, the power of inner order. Nietzsche emphasized self-overcoming as a primary expression of the will to power. Before you can hope to exert any real, authentic influence or possess genuine insight into others, you must first achieve a degree of mastery over yourself. This means understanding your own impulses, desires, fears, and weaknesses. It means cultivating self-discipline, not necessarily in a rigid, ascetic way, but in the sense of being the conscious shaper of your own character. Why is this crucial for silent influence? Because inner chaos projects outwards. Uncertainty, neediness, inner conflict, these things leak out non-verbally through posture, expression, hesitation. Conversely, someone who has wrestled with themselves, who possesses a degree of self-knowledge and internal coherence, radiates a natural confidence and centeredness. This isn't about faking confidence. It's about the quiet assurance that comes from knowing yourself, warts and all, and having consciously worked to integrate and discipline your inner forces. This kind of authenticity, rooted in self-mastery, doesn't need loud pronouncements. It has a weight, a presence that people subconsciously register and respect. Before you try to read or influence the room, you must first be able to read and master the room within yourself. 2. The art of observation. Seeing through the masks, hearing the unsaid. Nietzsche was a master observer, a diagnostician of cultural and psychological symptoms. He encourages us to cultivate a similar sharpness of perception. True insight doesn't come from listening only to what people say, but by observing how they say it, what they don't say, their body language, their subtle reactions, the inconsistencies between their words and actions. This requires moving beyond superficial judgments and engaging in deeper psychological interpretation. Ask yourself, what are the underlying motivations here? What fears or desires might be driving this behavior? What power dynamics are at play beneath the surface pleasantries? This is applying Nietzsche's critique of herd morality and hidden resentments to everyday life. Developing this observational skill is key to outsmarting without words because it allows you to understand the real dynamics of a situation before reacting or speaking. You see the game being played beneath the official script. This doesn't mean you become cynical, but rather more discerning. You learn to read the emotional and power currents in a room, anticipate reactions, and understand the unspoken subtext. This perceptive ability allows you to navigate situations more effectively, often avoiding unnecessary conflicts or misunderstandings simply because you see more clearly than those operating only on the surface level. 3. Radiating power through being, not boasting, embodied strength. Nietzsche despised empty posturing and the peacock vanity of those who needed constant external validation. True strength, in his view, wasn't demonstrated through loud claims or aggressive displays, but through being, through action, through quiet resilience. Think of his ideal, the Übermensch, not someone who constantly talks about their superiority, but someone who embodies a higher state of being through their actions, their creativity, their affirmation of life. Silent influence comes from cultivating this embodied strength. It's the confidence that radiates from someone who has faced challenges and overcome them, amor fati. It's the integrity of someone living by their own consciously chosen values, beyond good and evil. It's the focus of someone driven by their inner will to power towards self-mastery and creation. This kind of power doesn't need to announce itself. It's felt in one's presence, posture, gaze, and the consistency between one's often unconventional principles and actions. People are often more influenced by the perceived character and demonstrated resilience of an individual than by their arguments. Cultivating this deep, authentic strength means your very presence communicates more powerfully than volleys of words ever could. It's the difference between talking about being strong and simply being strong. 4. Understanding the will to power in others and yourself. Reading the drive, seeing the world through the lens of the will to power, provides a powerful framework for understanding motivations non-verbally. Remember, for Nietzsche, this isn't just about domination. It's the fundamental drive to grow, overcome, create, express, and assert oneself. Every interaction, from a casual conversation to a high-stakes negotiation, can be seen as an interplay of these drives. By observing others with this framework in mind, you can start to perceive their underlying aims without them needing to state them explicitly. Is this person driven by a need for security, a desire for recognition, a creative impulse, a fear of losing control, an ambition to expand their influence? Recognizing these underlying currents helps you understand why people act the way they do, often revealing more than their spoken words. This understanding allows for more strategic and insightful interaction. You can anticipate needs, recognize potential conflicts rooted in competing drives, and tailor your own, perhaps silent, response accordingly. It's like understanding the physics of a system. You don't need to argue with gravity. You learn to work with it. Understanding the ubiquitous will to power gives you insight into the unspoken physics of human interaction. 5. The power of silence and strategic non-engagement. In our hyper-reactive culture, there's immense pressure to always respond, comment, engage. Nietzsche, with his emphasis on standing apart from the herd and the value of solitude for deep thought, points towards the power of strategic silence and non-engagement. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all, refusing to be drawn into petty arguments, letting provocations pass without reaction, maintaining a thoughtful silence while others flail. These can communicate immense self-control and perspective. Silence can be unnerving to those accustomed to constant noise. It creates space, disrupts expectations, and can signal a refusal to play by the established rules of engagement. Furthermore, choosing not to engage, to strategically withdraw from a draining or unproductive situation, is an act of self-mastery and discernment. It shows you value your time and energy, that you aren't compelled by the herd's need for constant interaction or validation. This selective engagement, this willingness to be silent or absent when appropriate, paradoxically enhances your presence when you do choose to act or speak. It signals deliberation and a lack of neediness. 6. Cultivating an aura. Presence as the sum of your actions. The kind of silent influence we're discussing isn't something you can just switch on and off with body language tricks. It's the cumulative effect of your character, your history, your demonstrated way of being in the world. It's the aura that precedes you, built from the sum total of your past actions, choices, and demonstrated resilience. Have you consistently acted with integrity, according to your own values? Have you shown courage in adversity? Have you demonstrated independence of thought? Have you pursued self-mastery? These things build a reputation and a presence that speaks volumes before you even enter a room. People react not just to who you are in the moment, but to their perception of who you have been. Therefore, cultivating this long-term presence is key. It requires living authentically according to the principles of self-overcoming, life affirmation, and value creation that Nietzsche championed. It's about building a character so solid, so grounded in its own chosen principles, that its influence becomes a natural consequence of its existence. This is the ultimate form of outsmarting without words, becoming someone whose very being shapes the environment around them through the sheer weight of their accumulated actions and authentic selfhood. Climax: the resonance of embodied philosophy. So let's bring this together. What does this Nietzschean path to silent influence and insight ultimately look like? It's fundamentally about shifting the focus from external manipulation through words to internal cultivation that radiates outwards. It's not about learning tricks to outsmart people in superficial ways. It's about embarking on the far more challenging and ultimately more rewarding journey of radical self-mastery and profound self-awareness. The silent power Nietzsche points towards emerges naturally from knowing and mastering yourself. Your inner order creates outer presence. Seeing clearly, your ability to observe psychological truths and power dynamics gives you insight others lack. Embodying your strength, your actions and resilience speak louder than any boast. Understanding the fundamental drives, recognizing the will to power, helps you navigate interactions more deeply. Using silence strategically, your non-reaction can be more powerful than words. Living authentically over time, your accumulated character builds an influential presence. This isn't about becoming a silent puppet master. It's about becoming so grounded in your own being, so perceptive of the world around you, and so aligned with life-affirming values that your influence becomes a natural resonance. You outsmart not by playing shallow games better, but by operating on a deeper level altogether. Your insight allows you to understand the game so well that you often don't need to play it in the conventional way. Your presence, built on authentic strength and self-knowledge, subtly shifts the dynamics around you. This is the power of embodied philosophy. When your way of thinking transforms your way of being, and that transformation speaks for itself, often rendering words secondary or even unnecessary. Conclusion: the weight of being. We've explored how Nietzsche's demanding philosophy, unexpectedly, offers profound insights into the nature of silent influence and deep perception. It's not a shortcut or a set of social hacks. It's a call to the arduous but transformative work of self-cultivation, mastering the self, honing observation, embodying strength, understanding the will to power, wielding silence strategically, and building an authentic presence over time. These are the pillars of a power that transcends mere rhetoric. It's the power that comes from depth, from insight, from a mind and character forged in the fires of self-reflection and life affirmation. It demands honesty, courage, and a willingness to stand apart. But the potential reward is a form of influence rooted in genuine being, and an insight that allows you to navigate the world with greater clarity and purpose. So reflect on this. In your own life, how much communication truly happens beyond words? What constitutes real influence for you? And what steps could you take, inspired perhaps by Nietzsche, towards cultivating a deeper presence and more perceptive insight? Let me know your thoughts below. This is a complex topic, and Nietzsche always invites more questions than answers. If you found value in this exploration, do consider liking and subscribing. Until next time, cultivate your insight, master yourself, and perhaps discover the profound power that lies beyond words.